So I'll admit, I usually don't answer those little surveys. So how I carry through. Sorry, but it's not something I would usually do. But it's interesting to see that it's a big chunk of it's 30% increase in spending. So thank you again, ladies. So up next we have Team Abdonautics. Okay. So that's Marjorie, Carla, Eliza, Grenadine, and Dominique. Eliza, Grenadine, and Ferlin, sorry. So they will be exploring how civil society organizations, or CSOs, can optimize youth leadership development in the Philippines by analyzing socioeconomic factors and political dynamics. So, Team Abdonautics, your time to take the spotlight.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. And today is we'll diving in critical topics, which is about our future leaders. And our presentation centers on exploring how the civil society organizations empower the youth to take a significant role in public service and sangguniang kabataan. So, our mission for today is to help the CSOs to identify where are the areas that they can maximize their impact on the youth. Given their current portfolio, which areas offer the greatest opportunity and consider diversifying their efforts. So first is let's know about why youth participation is important specifically in the Philippines. So as you see here in the pyramid populations, the Philippines is a young country compared to its neighbor. And that means that our population has a lot of potential and a lot to gain from the youth participation. So youth accounts for more than a quarter of 119 Filipinos with those aged 15 to 30 years old. And these are the eligible individuals who can vote for the sangguniang kabataan elections. And from the core, we have the core youth, which is 18 to 24 years old, who are the ones who make up the 40% of the core youth and the ones who are eligible to vote to run for the SK office. So in 2024, which is this year, the estimated Filipino core youth population is 14.7 million. And one person may not change the world, but imagine what 14.7 equipped and committed young leaders can achieve. But who are these youth? Does the CEOs have reached them? And if not, how can we help them to reach this 14.7 million Filipinos? So the CSOs has been instrumental in supporting the government effort in youth nation building. And as of 2022, over 2,900 youth serving civil organizations are registered with the National Service Commission and dedicated for the youth serving. And for this study is we're going to focus on the 5 CSO who offered youth leadership programs. So in this map, we can see the number of the CSO present in per provinces, which is depicted by the color density. So the darker the color, the number of the CSO are present. So in this, we can see that 66 out of the 82 provinces are covered by the CSOs, and there are 31 million of youth in these provinces. And that leaves us with 16 provinces that are yet to make where the CSO are yet to make an impact. And it has 183 cities and municipalities, and this is a significant figure as this represents an opportunity for the CSO to reach 753,000 of core youth.
Okay, so now that we have a bit of background about the CSOs, the untapped and the tapped areas, as well as the programs, next slide, please. So we go back to the main question. So how can we help these 5 CSOs to figure out which locations, municipalities, areas they should prioritize in terms of youth engagement programs. So in our analysis, we did our clustering based on this socio-economic factors influencing youth participation and CSO engagement. So as you can see, there are 3 groups. These 7 factors are subdivided into 3 groups. Let's start with the first one, with the periwinkle background color. And in this first group, in areas with high poverty rates, usually the youth are more inclined to prioritize income-generating endeavors over activities such as civic engagement. Some of them even go to other places to pursue higher-paying jobs. And if these factors, the cost of living, the employed population, and the poverty incidence are favorable, it offers stability. Stability for the youth to stay and contribute to their locality. And this helps the CSOs facilitate implement youth engagement programs. So for the second group, with access to basic utilities, education, and health, the youth are more aware of how they can contribute to their communities. They're more aware of what their communities need. And for the last factor, peace and order, this one is very crucial because in areas with high crime rates and instability, the rest of the factors get dragged down. And well, with those areas, the youth and the CSOs won't get encouraged to get involved because of the risk, because of the high risk it poses. So on our clustering, 3 groups were identified based on the selected socio-economic factors. For the first cluster, we categorized as underprivileged. The second cluster we categorized as developing, and for the third cluster we categorized as urbanized. And for more details and information about these clusters, here's Tim.
Okay, so now let's further examine these clusters. So the first cluster that we have comprises of cities and municipalities that we characterize as underprivileged. So the graph on the left shows how this cluster compares with the other 2 clusters in terms of socioeconomic scores. So this cluster has the highest poverty incidence and highest employment rate. And although these may seem counterintuitive, a study by World Bank actually suggests that poverty in the Philippines is primarily due to low earning capacity and limited access to regular and more productive jobs. Also noting that this cluster actually has the highest health facilities availability, although the availability of other essentials such as water and electricity are notably low, making it challenging for the residents in this area. So, example municipalities in this cluster are Tubo in Abra and Lantawan in Basilan. So next, we have the developing areas. So for this cluster, actually has the high cost of living but low employment rate. This might indicate the reliance on other sources of income. But despite this, the poverty incidence still remains moderate, suggesting that economic conditions may be improving. And in addition, the availability of basic utilities also remains moderate, suggesting that ongoing infrastructure development may further support the needs of the population in these areas. And low availability of health and education services may cause economic strain, and as this affects the quality of life of the residents in these areas. So, example municipalities in this cluster include Manila in Bulacan and Coron in Palawan. And lastly, we have the urbanized areas. So these areas have the low poverty incidence but moderate to high cost of living, indicating that economic conditions are relatively stable in these areas. The availability of basic utilities is also notably high, suggesting that signifying that the robust infrastructure development and urban growth which can support the daily living and economic activities, contributing to the higher standard of living in these areas. So for this cluster, we have the cities in Metro Manila. So now that we've identified the clusters, we now look into the clusters in which the CSOs are already present in. So most of the areas covered by the 5 CSOs are actually under the developing and urbanized clusters. So as with the high population in these areas and high economic opportunities, engaging the youth in these areas may potentially increase the chances of encouraging more youth to become future leaders. And it's also important to note that all clusters have actually already been tapped by at least one of the 5 CSOs. And with this, we can see that there are already existing efforts in serving areas of varying socioeconomic characteristics. And with targeted and data-driven strategies, the CSOs may potentially be able to provide equal opportunities for all youth across the Philippines. So next, we look into the untapped areas as will be discussed by Pearl. Thank you.
So aside from the areas that have been covered by the CSOs, almost all of the untapped areas are underprivileged. So with the help of the clusters, there are now 2 options for the CSOs. First is to conveniently stay in the areas with similar characteristics or clusters, or second, to diversify to the areas where their need is gonna be a big help. So more work will be more work is needed to encourage the youth to become leaders, and for these areas, but this will be a big help and be impactful. So here's a dashboard that will be helpful for the CSOs to identify the areas where they could expand their coverage. So for example, if I am a CSO4 and I want to tap more areas under that have the similar characteristics of what I am currently tapping right now, so here's what I'm gonna do. So for the CSO filter, I will choose the CSO4, and there I will see the areas that I am currently tapping and the cluster as well. And then I will also choose none to see the untapped areas. And then after these, the CSO filter will help me to identify which cluster, so I will already know that I am tapping the developing areas. So for the cluster filter, I will choose the developing, and for the status, I will choose the untapped. And there I will see the areas that where I can expand my coverage. But if I also wanted to expand and cover more from the unprivileged areas, here's what I'm going to do. So for the CSO filter, I will choose none. And for the cluster, I will choose unprivileged. And for the status, I will choose untapped. So here are the unprivileged areas. So as you can see, there are 2 areas that have been already tapped, and these are tapped by CSO 2 and 4. So it's they could also tap other areas from the unprivileged areas, but it will not be limited only to CSO 2 and 4. Other CSOs may also tap these areas if they want to diversify their reach. And here are the developing areas. So as you can see, there are 3 untapped areas, and we suggested here the CSOs that could tap these areas, but as what I have said earlier, it is not limited to these CSOs. And lastly, the urbanized areas. So as you can see, there's no untapped areas for the urbanized areas. So what we suggest is for the CSOs to expand through the type of engagement and specific activities that they offer to the youth. And for another perspective, for what the CSO might look at, here's Pearl.
So in addition, aside from the socioeconomic indicators, we also want the CSOs to look at other factors that may influence the youth participation. So these are gender stereotypes and political monopoly. So first we ask, is there a bias to specific gender among SK officials? And are these gender distribution the same across all political or government level? So, as we can see, due to the limitation or availability of the data, so since there is no indication of gender, what we did to find out these numbers is that we did an NLP to identify or predict their gender. So we found out that 54% of all SK officials are female. So this is quite balanced. But as we can see, as the hierarchy of positions reaches the level of government, there is a decline in the share or number of females. Like for example, in barangay, from 54, we have 44, 36, and 35. So we can notice that there is a decrease of share of females. So these officials are the current officials that we have currently. So this shows that females might have difficulty in penetrating higher positions. Like we know that females are expected to take care of our home, and so that might be the reason why. But it might be interesting to deep dive on what are the reasons behind these issues, but that is not part of the diving deeper to that issues is not part of the study. So let's proceed. Also to add, this observation is also consistent with the Interparliamentary Union in 2019, as they discovered and said that women participation is underrepresented across political and decision making. So let's proceed with the political monopoly. So political monopoly may limit the opportunities of other SK official, other youth in joining for an SK position or any other level of position. However, to address this, we have an SK law reformed in 2016, which says that relatives of elected and appointed officials to second degree of consanguinity or affinity are prohibited from taking or running for an SK post. However, we still look at this angle so that we can help or provide insights to the CSOs regarding this one. So, in this method, from the DILG list of SK officials, we identified potential matches of family names by the SK officials to higher ranking officials. Like for example, we have here Juan de la Cruz Peña Carino, who is an SK chairman. And then potential match is Carino, who is a barangay captain. So if this is the case, that is an indication of a potential political familial connection. So let us proceed with the results. So to add to that, this method is also used in other political science researchers, like for example, we have Mendoza in 2016. They identified the potential political dynasty in Congress and also in international. We have Dalbo and Snyder in 2018 from University of California, wherein they identified also political dynasty through modal family names. So, as you can see, is almost 80% of 136,553 SK officials sharing the same family name with at least one higher official. So, with this prevalence of potential political monopoly or dynamics, we can suggest to the CSOs that they might consider looking at these numbers. Also, let us drill down. So, in barangay level, 77.5% of these SK officials are sharing the same family names with higher our barangay officials. So as we can see also, municipal level and provincial level have lesser incidence of potential political connection. So to next please. To add on to that, how can the CSOs use this data about their family names? So what we did is that we created this dashboard wherein we can, for example, select a specific barangay. So so that they can identify what family names are very prevalent in that barangay. So for example, we have here province of Laguna, and then we can filter also the municipality. So example, we have Cabiao, and then we can also drill that down into barangay. Like for example, so these are those are the prevalent family names. So how can the CSOs use that? They can use that to identify or filter their participants so that they can also provide opportunities for those youth who does not have any political connection or any connection to higher officials. So next, so moving forward, we wanted to help the CSOs. Also, we wanted to recommend this for us, for them to enhance their reach also, and their how they can provide programs and which areas can they reach. So we wanted them to, we recommend to enhance the dashboard, enhance their data, update their graphic coverage in clustering, and also use better data, like for example those identifiers. Instead of using index, why not they can also try using the data from the CVMS. So using our analysis and our recommendation, we wanted to help the CSO maximize the potential of our youth, because the youth has a very powerful potential as they may lead they are the potential leaders actually of our future. Thank you. I would like to introduce my team. So I have here Eliza with me, who is a former WordPress editor. So that's Eliza. We have Grenadine. So me and Virgin Iwan. And then we have Cara and Mon.
Okay, thank you, girls. Could you introduce yourselves? So, Grenadine was a former food scientist. So, I'm Grenadine Labrador, a former food scientist.
Hi, I'm Eliza. I'm a former WordPress editor, and I'm currently working as a data analyst.
Hi, I'm Pearl, and I graduated as civil engineering and currently working as sales support analyst.
I am Carla, and I'm a former industrial engineer and currently working as a data analyst.
And hello, I'm Marjorie, and I'm a former project manager and now working as a data analyst.
Okay, thank you, girls. We are now open to questions from the audience or from the judges.
Very interesting dashboard. I like the dashboard. I like the very political, very sensitive dashboard. Okay, so I'll go to the first one and I'll go to the second. So I appreciate the effort to use the dashboard in order to facilitate better decision making. So if you go to the point and so every time you hover over it, is information. So in the objective of better decision making, to understand where to go, where CSOs can go, what other information do you think should be part of that text box when you go, such that I'm able to better facilitate? Or what other information or visuals do you want to couple or put in that dashboard, such that decision making is actually much it's better, it's enriched, and it's informed.
Okay, for the dashboard, actually, the data that we use for that one are mostly external data from the government. So to make it more personalized, I think it would be nice to get actual data from the youth leaders themselves. For example, what advocacies are they interested in and what motivated them to become youth leaders. So this would help us understand the demographic of the existing youth leaders. So when we did this, we don't have data on the youth leaders themselves yet.